Hello and welcome to Stateside Soccer Show. My name is Jordan Wiegand, and with me today is a man who just lost 3-0 to Manchester City in his FIFA career. It's Logan Stump.
Yeah, it's a rough go with Harrogate.
Destroyed by your own team. How does
I know. It's easier because whenever I get to City, I've noticed in games, because what I do is I do League 2 teams and I bring them all the way up to Premier. And by the time I get to City, I mean, there's like one player left that was on City, and it's usually Foden or De Bruyne. They had both of them last night. They had some 18-year-old kid that was in the midfield, and he absolutely just tore me apart. It wasn't even KDB. So that was
some
fun.
youth guy they found.
Yeah, and they always hang on to Mahrez for some reason. I don't know what it is about Mahrez that the game likes, but they always hang on to them. But yeah, it was a rough go, and then I had to play United in the FA Cup in the third round. And played really well against them, and then they just smashed me open when their defenders started scoring. It was like, that's not fun.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you're having a successful career. It's just the Manchester clubs who are doing you in right now.
I haven't been fired yet, so that's always a good thing. And I'm at like a 91. Yeah, I'm at like a 91 manager rating right now, so I feel pretty good. Yeah, and I'm in championship, and it's like, don't get relegated, and I love that in FIFA because I'm like, I can avoid that. So.
You know who would have a 91 manager overall on this season so far?
I would guess Brian Schmetzer.
I was going to say Greg Berhalter. Getting the Nations League final, and we're going to the Gold Cup final with our B squad here. I know some people are saying
C squad.
C squad. No, sorry. It's not our C squad. Try to think of another 11 that would be the B squad that doesn't factor in any of these players.
Yeah.
But definitely I would say our B squad. And I also saw some Mexican reporters saying that we shouldn't be calling them a B squad because we're just trying to make it look like if we lose, it's not a big deal. But we've been calling it our B squad since, the Nations League happened, and we said we're definitely bringing a B squad to the Gold Cup. So it's true. I mean, these are not a lot of play. I can't think of many players on this 11 that are going to be our starting 11.
No, maybe right. Sebastian Lletget.
Maybe Turner.
Maybe Turner, yeah. Right.
Which we'll talk about here today. But, yeah, so we got to the Gold Cup final. We beat Qatar in the semifinal. Exciting times. 1-0. Not the game we thought it would be after how many goals Qatar was giving up and how many goals they were scoring. It just kind of flamed out there, I guess.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. I was expecting more of a onslaught of goals, but it ended up being a stand-on-your-head kind of performance for both goalkeepers. And I'm just glad that we got the win and can move on. But I had a lot of fun. That's why I texted you. I said it's probably the most fun I've ever had in a 0-0. I guess, fixture and result until we finally got the goal.
Yeah, that was it was a good game. It was a frustrating first half for sure, right? Mm-hmm. Because we were just getting outworked. It did get a little better in the second half when Greg made his changes and such. Let's just say, I get that this is what Twitter does, I guess. Reactionary? Do you think it was a little reactionary? I saw people now saying that, like, Orlando's not even going to get a bag of chips for DK. Like, I know he didn't.
Matthew Hoppe is going to Real Madrid.
Yeah, I know he didn't play great, Daryl DK, but he also his first professional season, and he hasn't had a break all year. So, and it looked like he was hurt. His shoulder may have been bothering him still. So. I'm not off the DK train. Is he our starting striker for qualifying? No, probably not. But he's only 19. He's gonna get he's got a long career ahead of him. We'll make more assessments as that career goes on. But for people saying that Orlando should have sold him for $10 million, they're not going to get the $20 million. They're not going to even get $5 million. It was very reactionary. Scouts don't go off of one game. Either, they're going to look at the body of work, and they might actually put more stock in a Barnsley game than they would this Gold Cup. It depends on what they're looking for. If you're an England scout, you're looking how do they play against English teams, not how they play against Qatar and Jamaica and teams like that. So we'll see. how that goes. I'm sure there'll be a suitor in this winter that comes in for DK and spends some money on him.
You also got to look at people playing around him too, and I know scouts think about that as well. If you're having Pulisic and Gio Reyna around the midfield area on the wings, that changes the way that DK plays. I know if you go back and look at the games that we've played, I think one was against Wales, and then another one was Scotland or somebody. When Christian played, DK became as threatening as I've seen him since Barnsley. And that was just because Christian was playing with him. So you got to look around, and I'm not saying that Hoppy's not good, but I'm saying that the midfield was having a hard time, and it kind of shows when we talk about the result of the game. But you got to look around to the players that are around him too, because if you put like a Christian Pulisic or a Timo Werner or a Kai Havertz or like a Kevin De Bruyne or somebody like that around a Daryl DK's going to score a lot more. So.
Let's talk about Hoppy. Man, he put one of those balls on a platter for DK, though.
Yeah,
that was a beautiful pass.
He did.
Wonderful pass from Hoppy, and he played very well, I thought. I know some people were criticizing him yet again. But for me, Hoppy has been our best attacker in the Gold Cup, I'd say.
Easily.
Maybe not like goal production-wise, but he's definitely looked sharp. He's looked up for it. I think he can fit into a bigger team than Xhaka, and I can't wait until he does. Now, I don't know if he's Arsenal or Everton level, right? But he would probably get loaned out. He'd probably get loaned out from there anyway. And if a team got him and he got loaned out for like a season, I think then he might be able to break into the team after that. But I don't think he'd be like a Miazga where it's just a loan department the whole rest of his career.
But in the lower tier, like if you're looking at a Newcastle or a Brighton or a Leeds, he easily starts. So, I think that's a better move for a lot of our players anyway. I know that when we talk about a lot of the younger players like Eric Palmer-Brown, he's at a City system that he's going to get transferred out to Serie A. He's playing, first division, big time football. And that's what you're going to see with Hoppy too. I think you're going to see more of a move like that, where he makes a move up into like Germany's, first tier again, kind of like a Dortmund move. It seems to be where all the Americans like to go, or like Leipzig or something like that, where he can at least flourish there. So,
yeah. Looking forward to the final. We get to face Mexico again. This happens all the time. We're probably gonna lose. But one thing that I'd like to say is that the way that Canada played this team makes me a little bit more confident that maybe we could grab a result and win the final. But if not, I think reaching the final is kind of what we wanted from this group. And look, I mean, sometimes we even lose with our A team in the Gold Cup final, so it's going to be a tough. I'm trying to figure out which way my hair parts. I'm trying to figure out. There we go. But it's going to be a tough battle for them. I can't believe that Mexico was so close to losing this, and really they only had the extra time, or as long as extra time, because they had to stop the racist chants again. They had to stop the game for the not racist chants, the
homophobic.
Yeah, homophobic chants. They had to stop the game again. It gave them 7 minutes of stoppage time, and they played with until the 9th minute of stoppage time, in which Mexico scored with Hector Herrera, and it is just, how do you fix this chant issue?
You take points away from them or disqualify them for competitions. I think that's the only way you can do it, or completely start eliminating their home crowd at World Cup qualifying. So just taking, the Mexican, like if it's a home game for Mexico, completely take the audience out of it. It's not like we haven't done this before with COVID. So just take the audience out of it, and until they learn. They do it again, then the next game, and they'll stop. They definitely will stop, because people want to go see games. They'll pay a lot of money for these games. And FIFA could even to make it to where, they could play all their home games away from Mexican stadiums, taking them and putting them somewhere else. It's really a shame just because of, how far the league has come and how many, companies have come so long in trying to stop all of this. But it's still going to happen. And there's still a chance that the U.S. people say that I wish they would not. But again, I think the only way to punish them is to go pretty strict, and then it'll stop.
Yeah, so far it seems like nothing's worked. I think you have to make it clear it's on the men's team if you were to do the World Cup qualifying thing again, because as we've heard, they've kind of moved that to the women's qualifying, which is not fair to the women's team or the fans of the women's team. And, you would have to – I think the biggest thing that would happen – and this will never happen, right? This will never happen. But the biggest thing to stop it would be, okay, you're not making the 2022 World Cup.
Yeah.
You're barred from it. Because you can't do it to 2026 because they're hosting it. I don't think they would ever take away the hosting of it, right? So you would really only have this one shot for next year's World Cup, and with this short of notice, I don't think they would do that anyway. So never going to happen. So we'll probably have to keep dealing with this. One thing that people keep pointing out as well is that FIFA, the refs, CONCACAF refs, I guess, continue to only recognize the chants at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear them going on before that, but they only pause the game once we get around the 82nd, 85th minute, because they don't want to have to go through all three steps, because the second step is taking them off the field, and the third step is like postponing the game and removing fans or something. And they don't want to do that, so they wait until the 80-some minute to do the first step, and they think, all right, there it is. We've done our one step. We look like we're doing something, but we just don't want to have to postpone this game or take the people, off the field. But let's get into the USA-Qatar game. Just wanted to kind of cover who we'd be playing against first here. But Canada, well done, Canada. They played very well, and that is without, Jonathan David. That is without Alphonso Davies. And is without who else were they missing?
Ayo Akinola, Kyle Aaron.
Yeah.
The list goes on and on. I think, was it their keeper that's not their first? I forget.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah. So they've been playing very well.
Crepo is their first, I think. But I don't know. They like you said. There's just I guess my question to you though is, and you've watched it longer than I have and followed it. Mexico, this is like their first team, barring, Raul Jimenez, who's, I'm not sure he plays very much anymore just because of his issue with the head injury. But, this is like their first team. This is Mexico's first squad. And they came out, and this is Canada's second. This is the U.S.'s second team.
I'd say Canada's probably 1.5. I really do think that this will be most of their team minus those, they'll plug in the players that are injured or whatever, and they'll be good to go.
But even then, there's a lot.
I don't think Pesho is starting for Canada.
No.
World Cup qualifying.
No. But Canada's the third best, I think, out of the three. And they're
really,
coming.
They really jumped up. Yeah, they really jumped up. I know that some people will say, Costa Rica is probably still up there. Canada's been playing really well. And look, I think they will qualify for the World Cup this time. Look, I remember the days of Canada when they only had like Dwayne De Rosario. Okay, that was it. That was like their one guy. He played MLS, and he bounced around from teams, but he was really good on DC United. He was good at he played for so many teams, but he was good. Earthquakes and all that. But he was like the best Canadian player at a point, and I was always upset that they never qualified for a World Cup with Dwayne De Rosario because he really deserved to play in one. But now they've got like all this talent. And look, this is part of what we've talked about with having Canadian teams in MLS and how it's helping their game. Mm-hmm. And now they're having their own other first division that they're creating as well, which is going to help players get playing time. It's going to help them continue to grow. And then we're also helping out like Costa Rica, Honduras, and Jamaica because some of those players, if they couldn't cut it in Europe before, I'm not sure where they would have went. Now they have MLS, which is consistently growing and getting better, that they're facing better talent, and it's making all of CONCACAF better as well. Like, look at, Andre Blake at the Union. He could have went overseas at this point, but let's say if he went overseas and didn't cut it, where is he going to go after that? Does he go to a Jamaican league? Is he playing in Liga MX? I'm not really sure what that looks like, but now we have almost 30 teams here in America that they can play in and get better in, and it's helping Canada. It's helping all these other teams getting better, where CONCACAF, the region, is getting better as a whole. And Canada's going to continue to get better because they have the academies that they're setting up there. They have the Canadian Premier League that they're setting up, and I'm sure those teams are going to start pumping out talent the way that sometimes our USL teams are. And it's really just making, and that's the thing too, having like USL and stuff, if they're not good enough for MLS, they're going to USL and they're playing still against players that probably were former MLS or would have been MLS players 10 years ago. And the quality of the whole region is just going up, that I think with the resources Canada has, they're probably, I don't know how wealthy of a nation they are, but I'm sure they're a wealthy nation. They're like USA 2.0 at times, the way they handle things up there, but they have better healthcare and, better stuff like that. That once they start have Canadian businessmen and businesswomen buying into soccer and putting more money into it, then why can't they be successful? It's the same way the USA can be successful. Right? I mean, look, Canada is usually seen as a hockey nation, right? And USA is usually seen as a American football or baseball nation, basketball, all these sports that we have that are popular in America. Canada can certainly turn it around.
Yeah, and it's coming too. I mean, like you said, MLS is such a good league, and you're talking about teams that, like, if you look at all the MLS teams, they usually across the board have one really good Canadian player. Yeah, I mean, it's just, the list goes on and on. I mean, Schaffelberg's really good. It's just, when you look at these teams, they're younger Canadians, there's younger Americans. It's like North America has really taken off, and a lot of these North American teams play each other. I mean, if you look north, up in New York and stuff, the academies from Canada will start playing when they do start to have these younger youth teams. They're going to start playing in New York or Seattle or different places like that, Vancouver. They're all right across the border from these big cities, and it's just going to, I mean, the game's growing here, and it's coming to where now, I mean, if you look at the US team, all these US players are starting to get plucked off just because Europe's recognizing, and a lot of European ownership is now American ownership teams. So they're looking over here at America and saying, how can we grow this game?
I think Venezia has American
yeah.
ownership, and they're showing it, man. They're getting everybody.
Right. They're like, okay, there's an American over there in the third league.
For people that don't know, Logan created this FIFA career.
Yeah.
What team did you pick?
Who did I pick? It was Bologna.
Yeah. And he signed all these Americans. Literally, his whole squad was Americans. He got fired.
So the problem is that when you're starting out in Serie A and you sign all these American players, you got to make it through like the first season. It's very difficult to do it unless you, like, I play on a really high level on the difficulty scale, but like you could do it if you played, I mean, lower, but it's not fun like that. So like, I don't know. It did not go well. That's like Harrogate. Like, it's only taken me 3 seasons to get to championship, whereas in Bologna, it would have taken me like years to figure out how to be good in that league. Because, the American players only have a ceiling right now at like 80, 85.
EA underrates them,
Yeah, I think for some reason, like, who did I say the other day it was really odd? Oh, it's Jesus Ferreira has like the highest ceiling of them all.
Yeah.
It's really confusing. But yeah, I had like a Bobasi and Pulisic and Hoppy and all of them. It didn't go well.
Did not go well. So we'll see how Venezia pulls.
Yeah, they're going to be out of the.
They're linked to like what? Eric Palmer Brown. They've already signed Tessman, and they already signed Buzio, right? Or is it still rumored for Buzio? Right?
Still rumored for Buzio, yeah.
But so It'd be 3 Americans that they have.
They're scouting Hoppy.
Yeah, they probably are. Who wouldn't, right? They're the ones that probably sent the scouts for DK, right? They're like, let's just make a American 11 here.
I'd be shocked.
But the reason why we brought that up is just because it seems like Venezia is now pulling on all these players. But and like you said, all these players are going overseas. We got Buchanan, Tajon Buchanan is linked going overseas.
He's gone.
Some people said that it should be like a $6 million offer for Buchanan. So the Revs definitely sell him at the end of the year, I would think, after you make this playoff push.
Twellman said it would be stupid to let him continue playing over here and that they need to sell him before next week's trade or transfer window closes. Which, when we talk,
here's the thing: Revs haven't missed a beat without him right now.
That's what I was saying.
There you go.
When we were talking to Greg last episode, he said that they haven't really missed that beat, and you've got enough around them to where, and also you've got enough time to, like, if Bruce decided, which I don't think he will. I think Tajon stays, but I think if you decided right now you're going to sell Buchanan, you would just go out and find a replacement. And I'm not saying that they would fit in right away, but in the next 6 months, I think they get to a point where they don't even notice that Tajon, has gone and played in England. But again, like you said, it's really fun in this league right now. If people don't watch this league and they're listening to this for the U.S. men's team, or they're listening to it because we're getting ready with Stoppage, whatever it might be, this league is really exciting right now to watch just because of all the young players that are coming through here and that are eventually going to be sold to these bigger leagues. And you're going to go, where did they come from? MLS.
Right. Yeah. And then the answer to most of those questions is FC Dallas. FC Dallas. Where'd he come from? Well, he was in FC Dallas's academy. They didn't sign him, and now he's at Juventus.
Wait, so he never played? He never played with the first team? Oh God, no. He was
no. You know what? They put a jersey on him and they shipped him out of there.
Sorry, FC Dallas fans, if you're listening.
They were like, $2 million offer. Get him out of here.
Oh gosh.
But yeah, so let's talk some Qatar USA. So there was a penalty in the 61st minute here to give Qatar the lead, and deservedly so. I know you were probably playing devil's advocate on my text messages here.
Right away I was.
Because you didn't want it to be a penalty.
Yeah, right away I was like, that is not a penalty. The more I looked at it, I was like, okay, it is a penalty. And then they showed that one camera view, and I was back onto that is not a penalty. He touched the ball, but again, it's so tough to tell.
Yeah.
That's why.
Just clarity on that, I guess, is you can touch the ball, but if you still take the guy out, it's not gonna matter. And this was Sands, right, who stepped in there and I knew it as soon as I saw it, and he went down. I thought the ref was already gonna call it. And then we, boot the ball forward and we start going on an attack. And I told my wife, I was like, that's going to get reviewed. That was a penalty. And then they showed the replay of it. And I was like, yeah, that's a penalty. And every replay they show of it, I'm like, that's a penalty. Like, I couldn't even really see the one where he got the ball. Because, like, when you see the view of it from behind the goal, that's, like, the most clear view, I think, that, like, I don't even really see him. If he touched the ball, he grazed it, if anything. And I mean, I would have been pissed if it wasn't called and it was the other way around. So I was very much like fine with the penalty. But guess what? He skies it over the bar. He tries to be cheeky with a Panenka and just shoots it over the bar. So there you go. That was Hassan Al-Haidos, if I said that right, who missed the penalty. Then we had... right around that time, like 2 minutes later, is when all of our subs came in. American, Italian, and cheesesteak. No, I'm just kidding. We had Rodon, Zardes, and Reggie Cannon coming in at that point. And Rodon looked good. Zardes changed the game. I know people love to pick on him, but his touch has gotten a lot better. And he scores. Like, he just scores. Whenever you put Zardes in, he's going to score off his butt. He's going to score off his face. He's going to score off his foot. He's going to do whatever he can to get that ball into the back of the net. And he does that. And it's 86th minute. And there's great build-up here from Giochini, who comes in for Hoppy just 5 minutes beforehand and Williamson came in for Areola. And, Giacchini makes a great pass to Zardes, and Zardes is just slides and taps it in pretty much, and we're good to go. And let's talk about it. I think he's our starting striker for qualification.
No, I agree.
He knows Greg's system. He's played with Greg Berhalter. He scores goals. I mean, I don't know what else we want.
He's just got and I think Josie had it too in previous World Cups where Jazzy seems just very relaxed and comfortable. And I know he loves playing for Greg. And Greg has shown time in and time out that he trusts him, bringing him to the crew and doing what he needs to do there. So, I really do think that he's the number one right now. Josh Sargent, that's where I was going to go. Josh Sargent, he's going to go down a tier in that league in Germany.
Well, maybe. People were tracking a private flight out of Germany yesterday to Norwich, where they think people said they had on good authority Sargent was on there. I've not seen anything since then, so I think they were mistaken. But so people think that Norwich is going after Josh Sargent, which I don't think he'd get much time in the Premier League starting. And if he does, he would have – here's the thing. He has to start scoring goals. Yeah, I'm a big Sargent fan. I loved him in the U17 World Cup I watched him in, that he was scoring left and right. He scored some good goals for Werder Bremen. But if you also talk to Werder Bremen fans, USA fans are a little optimistic on Sargent, while they're not as much. Like USA fans, you'll get the narrative from USA fans on Twitter that Sargent is their best attacker on Werder Bremen. Mm-hmm. And Werder Bremen fans say that's not even close to the truth. So I'm going to take it more for the people that probably watch their team all the time than the people that are just watching Sargent play there. And I get it. He didn't have great service there. That's one of the reasons why I want him and Hoppy to move out of those teams anyway. Schalke and Werder Bremen. But he needs to score goals, whether he has the service or not. There's times where we see him at the U.S. team, he wouldn't have service either, but he'd start going more onto the left and trying to be the playmaker instead of scoring goals. And hey, that's fine too, but we need somebody up top who's just going to put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, and Giazzi's going to do that. Zardes is so good at what he does, his craft. He's got that ability to get in the box and just put the ball in the back of the net, which Sargent needs, but I don't know if Sargent understands. And that's been a big thing. I know Extra Time talked about it. I know Twellman's talked about it, where Sargent's biggest thing is that he just does not get on the end of passes like he should. He starts to look better over the last year or so that he's played with Greg. And I think Greg does a good job of saying, hey, you need to get on the end of these balls and just poke them in. But Zardes already has that. And Zardes is creative enough and big enough to where he just creates his own space. And I think that that's a big thing with the U.S. We've always talked about the U.S. having big, goalkeepers, but the U.S. has always had big players. Look at DK. He's big. Zardes is big. Those are big strikers. Josie's a big striker. They just like those bully ball. And I think that Jazzy is calm. He's come from a place where he didn't come from much. He grew up in a really rough neighborhood. So it's, he's coming out of this. He's always been inspired to play good soccer. And I think that, given the shot, I think he'd be one of those ones we look back at and go, I'm so glad that we gave Zardes a chance to play. And I think it just makes people mad because he's an MLS player.
Yeah. And people don't want to say he ever improved, right? Because there was a time where Zardes' first touch would put the ball 10 feet ahead of him, which is not what you would want. But he's definitely improved since then. And people don't like to – I feel like people don't like to say that at a time, Zardes, for the U.S. team, from what I see here, he has 14 goals out of 61 appearances.
It's pretty good.
Which is pretty good. Yeah, 2019 he had 6 goals in 14 appearances. This year he has 2 goals out of 5 appearances. So he scores goals. Mm-hmm. And he scored against Martinique. He scored against Qatar. He scored against Canada in 2019. Trinidad and Tobago in 2019. So I mean, he's been scoring goals. He scored against even Netherlands in 2015. Cuba in 2015. Oh, that was the Gold Cup that was in Baltimore in 2015. I don't know if I went to that. I don't think I got a chance to go to that one. But anyway, he's been scoring goals. He goes out there. The best thing for him was when he left LA Galaxy to go to the Crew, because Galaxy started putting him at like right back, or they started putting him like anywhere on the field.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense. And he went to Greg Berhalter, who knew where to put him. And that's why he continues to play him. And I think against Mexico, we start with Zardes, right? I mean, DK obviously has not been super great. He might be injured. Give him a break and put Zardes up top.
Yeah, and him and Hoppy, I feel like that's a good combination.
That's
just
the
to have
start.
right now.
That's the start. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can bring in Giochini if you need something.
And he's looked really good.
Yeah, and I think Shaq Moore starts on the right again.
God, he's been good.
He's been really good.
He's probably he and Hoppy have been like the most pleasant surprises in this tournament, especially Shaq Moore, because Shaq, I think, is going to start getting attention from some of these bigger clubs. I think that some of these clubs are going to come after him, and the better he gets, that's really good for us, because that's that side that we kind of struggle with some depth and some options. If you can plug him in as one of your good options, or at least depth, that's huge for us, because then it's only about fixing that midfield, which, I mean, we can eventually talk about. But I think eventually it ends up being like a Weston McKennie, and maybe they move Musa into that role. But I don't know if, that those are the only two places that we really lack in this team. And I think that Shaq Moore is fixing that part of that question.
So do we start with Roldan or Buzio in the midfield against?
I would start Roldan.
That's what I was thinking.
Buzio has not, after his first match, he's looked non-existent. Especially this last game. There's times where he just kind of wanders into the pitch and he just doesn't know where to be.
He gets bumped off the ball pretty easily too.
Kellen Acosta, they marked him really well. Qatar did, and it's not like Kellen was going to tear them up, but it took that option away in the midfield, and it kind of just let Buzio just run free. But he doesn't do well in that kind of situation. There were times where he's running back and forth between the middle of the pitch, and I'm going, does he actually know where he's supposed to be, or is he just running around? But I'm so confused. Whereas when Roldan's on, Roldan was flying up that right side, and he was using his combination with Shaq Moore a little bit, and they were just taking off. And I think that's where it's tough for Buzio, whereas it's easier for Roldan because Roldan's played forever. So it's, Christian is much more suited for, I think, these games where you need somebody with experience. And just the way that he's played with Seattle, he deserves to have that chance. And I think that if you're Greg and you're looking at it, either Costa goes or Buzio goes and is replaced by Roldan.
Yeah, I think Roldan might start. Though Greg might think if we're in trouble, I might have to put him on halftime or 60th minute to bring some life into the game too. So I could see it go either way.
I'm just tired of the midfield. It's worrisome.
Yeah, because we were giving up so much possession and shots to Qatar. It was pretty crazy. But let's just say this Qatar team were pretty good.
They are.
18 shots against us compared to our 6.
They weren't on target, but they were shots.
No, they weren't on target. What they did have, how many on target? They had 2.
2? Yeah.
2 on target. We had 4 on target. So there was that, but they were getting off a lot of shots that
they were.
If they were a better team, we're losing this game 6-1 or something.
Don't tell Matt Turner that.
That's true.
The ball is scared of Matt Turner.
Matt Turner was very good in this game, and we had just talked about him with Greg, not Berhalter, but Greg from Revolution Recap last week about, or earlier this week, I guess. Feels like a week ago, on how this, where he falls into the number 1 spot. Where are you thinking now?
He's probably number 2 now. He's a shot stopper. I mean, we don't have, like, Stefan is not that. Like, Stefan is a very good get out and go sweeper kind of keeper. And I've watched him enough with City. He doesn't stop shots. He actually is probably one of the worst. I think Horvath actually might be better at shot stopping. I think what makes Stefan so interesting is Stefan does do a better job of containing that defense, where it's like he's got the back four kind of on a string and he plays with. Stefan is very athletic, which makes up for a lot of what Matt Turner is not. I mean, Matt Turner is athletic, but it's not like a Zach Steffen athletic. Ethan Horvath is not a Zach Steffen athletic. What makes Zach so good is, I think, one, he's learned from Ederson, I think, at City, where it's kind of like he's more of an attacking goalkeeper, which is kind of weird to say, but he plays balls really well. He's very athletic. He's very vocal, which I think helps Zach, because anytime that Zach's on the pitch, it seems like he's got the captain's armband. I think he's more of like a leader in the sense of where Matt Turner, I think, is kind of just stepping into this role where he doesn't quite know where he's placed. So he's kind of got this like, I can be a leader if I need to be, but I'm not that by. And I think, like you said, Jordan, I think that, and I think you agree with me on that, where he is probably number one in shot stopping, but I don't know if I trust him enough yet. Like, I need to see more of him in a more, consistent role. And I think with Zach Steffen not getting consistent playing time, it hurts Zach.
Yeah.
Where I think if Zach's playing number one with Manchester City, he's easily our number one keeper, just because he's getting that reps, and that reputation of being the number one. But right now, if I'm looking at the depth chart, I think Matt Turner, with this match and the way that he's played in Gold Cup, has now stepped above Ethan Horvath and is now chasing down Zach Steffen.
Here's who Matt Turner reminds me of here. Thomas Middleditch. You want to look him up. So when you're talking,
like him.
He does, doesn't he? Like, I can see it in like the eyes and the hair and thing. But
the facial hair is kind of like spotty.
I don't want to act like I'm gonna say this just for the heck of it. So this is like, I'm not saying this to rile people up, but I think for me it might go Turner, Horvath, Steffen.
Right now, I could see that.
Right now.
Yeah.
Steffen needs to play. And we'll see. I mean, Horvath will need to play too. And we'll see how he does at Nottingham, and we'll see if he wins the job there or whatever.
And that's a tough league to play goalkeeper in championship.
And the reason why I say that was, one, when we look at just my eye test, okay? I don't have the stats of Steffen when he was at Crew. But I feel like Turner is a better MLS goalkeeper than Steffen was. So I feel like Turner would outrank him in that regard, because I don't know if Steffen has improved all that much, because he's not playing. He's not playing at City. He played 11 games last year.
Yeah, and it was like
most of them were the
COVID.
Carabao. Yeah. One Premier League game for that, right? And then I think there was just the rest were FA Cup and Carabao or something.
Yeah, and he'll play Community Shield, I imagine. So
yeah, probably
if he's healthy.
So that is where I know people will always put this stock in, like we said last week, of he's training with the best players in the world, whatever. But it's different when it's a game situation. It's very different. People can be relaxed in training, make penalties in training, and then they step up and take a penalty and miss it, right? I'm sure this guy for Qatar, which I don't have the name in front of me anymore, was practice penalties all the time.
Yeah.
Probably practice Panenkos all the time, and he goes up in a game situation where it's going to take him to, a lead in the Gold Cup semifinals, and he puts it over the bar. So training and game time are different. And I understand that training with better players can make you better. But then you also have to use that training and practice and put it into game time. And Steffen hasn't been able to do that. There's times, the Nations League, he came off a cup-winning season with Manchester City, and he goes out there and looked shaky. Yeah. It's not great. Matt Turner is having to stand on his head sometimes for the Revs. Sometimes this year, not so much. Last year, more. But he was able to turn it on and stand on his head against Qatar if he needed to, right? Or make these saves that kept us in the game to win it. We'll see how he does against Mexico. But I'm also just still very impressed by the way Horvath played against Mexico when he came in after Steffen went down. And that I think Horvath might be above him too. We'll see. To me, I don't think there's a wrong answer.
No, that's the good thing about the United States. You'll never have a wrong answer with goalkeepers. So,
though it was getting a little worrisome before this, but we've had now these three, and it feels good because before we were looking at it, we're like, well, we have
Brad Guzan.
Yeah, because Guzan we're not starting.
Yeah,
no, I mean,
he's 35. He's still on the roster just in case. But it's like it's these three are up and coming, like onto the national stage where and you can play goalkeeper for a very long time. Like you can still be very successful as a goalkeeper as you get older. My biggest issue with your depth chart and many issues with the depth charts that have Stefan not starting is the fact that Greg Berhalter, that is his guy. He, a Columbus guy, a guy that Greg has seen play. I just don't see where Zach loses that spot just because of the fact that I don't know what goes on. Like that's the one thing that United States Twitter doesn't consider very much is we don't know exactly what goes on in the locker room and exactly what goes on the pitch in training. But it just seems like Zach Steffen, again, even when Pulisic was playing, when Weston McKennie's playing, and Pulisic is Captain America, but whenever Steffen is on the pitch, it seems like he's got the captain's arm.
Yeah, he is.
So I think that it's got a lot to do.
You know what though, Greg does, and there's the thing too. Greg has that connection with Steffen from his time
loyalty,
at the Crew.
Yeah.
That he coached them at the Crew, so it's gonna have that link.
Greg's really big with loyalty. I feel like that's why Zardes is on the team. I don't think if you're looking at it on an outsider's perspective, as much as I love Giazzi, I don't think Giazzi's even on the roster if Greg's not around, which is a shame because I think Zardes might be our best option going forward, at least in qualifying, especially because his workload, he'll be in more of a fit form than some of these guys that are just getting back from vacation, where if you look at it, I mean, DK and them, he's played for a year. Sargent is just getting back into things with Werner Bremen?
Werner Bremen,
yeah. So it's, they're going to be a month into playing, if they come back and play right away. Whereas Zardes is mid-season form going into qualifying. So again, I just think that Greg's loyalty is a big thing with Greg, which is why I think he gets the recruits that he does, which is why I think the Araujo and why some of these dual nationals look at Greg and go, I like Greg because Greg shows me trust. And I think that's where Zach Steffen gets the nod. That's where I think Zardes might get the nod, is because Greg trusts his players and they like that, which makes them play better. So I don't know. You're right, though, Jordan. The biggest concern with me is Steffen not playing. And I can tell you, being a City fan, he will not play. Unless Ederson breaks something, he won't play. He'll play FA Cup games against championship sides. Once City start to hit Premier League teams in the FA Cup, Ederson plays. So,
just want to share this real quick. Kai Kamara, free agent, found his team. He's going to Finland and playing for HIFK football. So
I like those kits.
Yeah. So there you go. That was breaking news from yesterday. So maybe the definition of late breaking news, I guess. Let's talk the women's, right? Well, I guess before we get there, Logan, do we win the Gold Cup on Sunday?
I'm going to go with I'm going to say yes.
Oh, okay.
Just because I feel like the United States is playing, Mexico's played really good defense. Their issue has been scoring. I think that the United States has played a little bit better in defense, and I think Matt Turner has played extremely well. So I think that the United States actually sneak one away, just because I think it's a great build-up for maybe it's qualifying. The United States' turn. Yeah, maybe it's the United States' turn to take control of this CONCACAF region.
I'll say they lose, but I like your answer better.
I think a lot of people agree with you, though. So we'll see. It'll be fun. It'll be a blast. So I can't.
Yeah, it should be good. So that's tomorrow.
8:30.
I'm putting this episode up on Saturday here. That's the day we're recording it. So yeah, we'll have that game on Sunday at 8:30. That's probably 9 o'clock kickoff. The way Fox is
10:30 because it's the championship game.
Yeah. So they're like, we gotta do 2.5 hours, 2 hours of pregame.
We have a pregame show.
The U.S. women's team played against Netherlands in the quarterfinals, and this was a shaky game for them. Again. Viviane Miedema, is that how you say it?
That's how I would say it, but I'm always wrong with names.
I haven't heard it because I haven't been up at 4 a.m. to watch these games. But I did get to see the shootout of this. But she scored in the 18th minute. Sam Ewis tied it up in the 28th. Lynn Williams give us the lead in the 31st. And then Miedema scores again in the 54th to make it 2-2. And we ride it out. We've scored. The USA scored a few times. I think more than a few times. It doesn't have stats on FOTMOB, of course. But they were caught offside. So we went extra time. Then we went to penalties. And in the penalties, Nair came up big. She made 2 saves. And the USA converted their 4. That's all they needed to move on. And they will go ahead and face Canada as we get this, U.S. North America match off here on August 2nd at 4 a.m.
Yeah. These Asian Olympics are brutal to watch just because of the time.
Same thing when they have a World Cup. Yep. We haven't had that in a while, and it's going to be brutal when it is a World Cup. But
it'll be a while, but I do think, from the sounds of it, sounds like Australia will be bidding for their World Cup, so that'll be lovely if they get it too. Just because it'll be like, oh my God.
And then we have at 7 a.m. Australia and Sweden. And then the winner of those games will go to the final, which is on August 5th. So those games are on August 2nd, which is Monday. August 5th is next Thursday. And guess what time that final is? 10 p.m.
Must be confused.
Yeah.
Must be moving the game to Hawaii.
I'm assuming, I guess what's the time difference for Japan? It's like 12
hours.
12 hours, right? Mm-hmm. So it would be like a 12 p.m. kickoff for them. So that works out perfect. Perfect for us. The bronze match is at 4 a.m. on the 5th. So hopefully we're in the final. We can actually watch at 10 o'clock on Thursday. That'd be nice. So if the USA wins the Gold Cup and the USA win gold at the Olympics and we won the Nations League, it's like we're having a great
give us
summer.
The World Cup.
We're having a great give us the World Cup in 2022. We'll win it.
No need to play it. Just give it to us.
We just go off of how good you were in all the other competitions. And we were really good.
Nervous.
You are like breaking up right now. Logan is frozen. Up there he is. Up there. Up. Logan is frozen.
Am I back?
Yeah, there you are.
Are you sure?
Yeah. So what were you saying after that?
I have no idea. Oh, I know. I'm nervous for World Cup qualifying.
Oh yeah, because now we're not going to make it because of all the progress. Yeah, could you imagine winning the Gold Cup and Nations League and then not qualifying for the World Cup? Oh my God.
I feel like if that happens,
then we can't put any stock into these competitions.
No, then if that happens, you just hit the reset and trade them all for prospects.
Yeah, you're very familiar with that.
Wrong sport.
Oh boy. Yeah. So, anything else you want to talk about with the women's team or the Olympics?
The women's team. This is the most shaky I've ever seen them, which is really weird because I've actually watched probably more of their games than I have the men's, just because the men's, they don't make the World Cup. This is the strangest time that I've ever think that U.S. women's national team fans have ever been if they're about my age. So if you're about 28 to 32 to 36, this is a really odd time to be a U.S. women's national team. And maybe the gods say if the men's team is going to perform well, then the women's team cannot. So maybe they're evening out the playing field. But then again, I look at Brazil and it's not fair. So yeah, not much else to say. Just I don't think we win gold, but who knows? This team could turn it on and all of a sudden look dominant again. So
I hope so. But yeah, we got to probably stop bringing some of the older players to these competitions. I think this is probably going to have. This has to be Lloyd's and Rapinos and last games here, like at least last tournaments, because we're at the point where we need to start bringing in some new blood. Can we bring in Olivia Moultrie? Right? Isn't she? I
think she's available.
Like 15, right?
What's the age limit on international?
I don't know.
16.
Yeah, maybe. So we might have to wait. We might have to wait to bring her in, but there we go. Well, there was some MLS games yesterday. If we just want to quickly touch on these, we'll probably go more in depth with them on Tuesday. But we did just have the Orlando City, as he's taking the drink from his Orlando City mug there. Really showing it to Heinze right there, drinking the water and it being in an Orlando cup.
Right. Is water wet, Orlando? I don't know. Yes.
But Orlando come back from 2-1 down to win 3-2 at home against Atlanta. Atlanta is now winless in 11 matches.
3 months, right?
Probably around that, right? 11 games if you do like one a week. But they've done some 2 a week, but we also had the break. So, yeah, it's probably been a long time since they've won. Let me check. I'll check the last time they've won.
Did you like my water wettest pun? Just because Vanderwater and Heinze and all the water issues that we have, and we didn't get a hydration break, which I think they did that only because Atlanta was in town. They're like, well, we got to even the playing field. No hydration break. Yeah, no.
I didn't pick up on that. Was it not hot there?
No, it was hot. It was like
it? Okay.
Yeah, it was like 95. This is the hot time of year, right around August. This is like the worst. This is worse than June and July ever are. So yeah, I guess because Atlanta's in, they didn't bring their water bottles. So
Atlanta's only had 2 wins all season, and their last win was on May 15th.
Did you say they only have 2 wins all season?
Yep. Against Chicago and against Montreal.
Really? See, I would never have said that. It's because they draw all the time.
Yeah.
Like they go up 2-0 and you think they're going to win.
But they had a great start to the season. Listen to this. Draw with Orlando at Exploria.
Yeah, to open it. Yeah.
3-1 win over Chicago. They lose to the Revs, which is understandable at Gillette. And then they draw with Miami, which you're like, maybe they should have won that one. Then they win against Montreal, and you're like, okay, not bad. Then they draw against Seattle, and you're like, all right, that's a good result. That's at Lumen Field.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of goes 2-2 with Nashville, 2-2 with Philly, 1-0 to NYCFC, draw with Red Bulls, lose to Chicago, draw with Nashville, lose to the Revs, and then he's fired. So
yeah, just keep saying it, Jordan. I'm sure the Atlanta fans have turned it off by now.
I'm just saying, if you look at the first 4 weeks, you're like, not terrible.
So here's my thing. Last night, and Twellman said something a little bit about it. He hinted at it. Valentina was afraid to take Joseph off. Afraid. He didn't. Joseph was going to come off. I think it was the 70th minute or something like that. He was coming off. And then Joseph went like this towards the bench and said, no, I'm good. And then Valentino didn't do it. He then takes him off at the 82nd or 83rd.
Yeah, it was late.
And Joseph looked hurt. Something wasn't right. He was either real tight in his hamstring.
It was either he was pissed off or he was hurt. I can't really tell.
Grabbing his knees, which is never good for somebody that's got ACL issues. So a couple things. Joseph is not Joseph. And who knows? With soccer,
that 48-second goal was pretty great.
Joseph,
though.
But
that was Joseph.
Twelman made a good point though. He goes, that's a really good shot, and there's no way you stop it. It's just him out in the training ground hits a beautiful shot, just like Moreno's was. You don't stop it. The thing is that his build-up, even like his abilities to get other players open, isn't there. Now, I'm not saying that it's because of Joseph. The other players around him are great. I think Moreno might be the second best on that team. But like Barco's around, he's not going to finish a whole lot. So
they've been playing Chol instead of Jurgen Damm.
Right.
So people are thinking Jurgen Damm's time is probably done in Atlanta.
So that's one issue. Like Joseph is not back to form. Does he get back? Maybe, but not with this system. He doesn't. I just don't. I don't see a positive thing going forward for Atlanta or Joseph. If this team's going to be bottom of the East, Joseph's going to get pissed because he's just got that. He's got that fiery nature about him, and the fact that they were scared to pull him off, something's not right. Like that's still some remnants of Heinze. As much as they want to get away from Heinze's mentality, but Valentino was there. Like that, Joseph's not happy in his situation where he currently is, and I think a lot of that has to do with coaching. I know that
if they start winning, he'll be fine.
Yeah,
and that's what they need to do. They need a whole new team.
He's so he's so volatile though. Like that's it's good and it's bad to have a volatile player. It's sometimes it can haunt you. And the fact they were scared to pull him off, that was what was concerning for me, is the fact that they seem scared of him, like he's going to blow up. So maybe there's a history there of him blowing it up.
Well, he does. He's had it with every manager.
Yeah. So
Tata.
I'm confused by that, and I think that only is going to poison the water, especially if people aren't going to want to go to play in Atlanta. Because if right now I'm looking at teams that I want to go play with in the East, Atlanta is not the one.
Let me just say though, they poison the water. It's not like Atlanta's really going to taste it. They're not allowed water breaks. Okay.
Philadelphia, I'd rather play with easily. That is a player's coach. That is a great system. New England, everybody loves Bruce. I don't know if I'd like Bruce as a player just because he's so gruff and tough. People like Bob Bradley.
He's definitely got rid of the players that hate him though, because I think Fagundes did not get on with him. And look, he leaves and Revs are turning it up.
Yeah. Like right now, Nashville looks like a fun place to play. They look like they've got a great system.
Fourth place.
It's come from that system that they used in Liverpool, where the ownership escapes me. I forget the guy's name, but they I don't know. There's just so many other places. Wouldn't you? I mean, there's so many other places I'd rather play right now. Like Oscar Pereira's got Orlando, Jim Curtin, Bruce Arena. You've got Caleb Porter. I mean, it's just like different people that I'd much rather play with than a blowing up Atlanta team.
You know who would fit with Atlanta? Oscar Pereira. He really would.
I thought you were going to say like Jose or somebody.
I think Pereira. What Atlanta needs. I'm not saying they're going to get him. What I'm trying to point out is Atlanta needs a coach that is familiar with the league, that fits their style, the way that Pereira kind of fits, attacking, and that somebody that's going to be able to shore up the defense and get the attack going, and scoring 26 goals to Atlanta's 16. I mean, looking at the standings right now, New England with 33 points, Orlando with 28. NYCFC have jumped all the way up to third with 26 points, and they've been just bashing teams. As the other game, let's kind of, I guess, shift to that real quick. The other game that happened during this was a 4-1 win for New York City FC over Columbus Crew at Yankee Stadium. We had Castellanos, Thiago, Keaton Parks, and Rodriguez scoring the 4 goals for New York City, and Pedro Santos getting a 90 plus 7 minute penalty kick for Columbus to give them a consolation prize there. And then we had the same scoreline in LA for LA Galaxy over Portland, with Reveloson, Vasquez, Kleshtin, and Grandsir scoring, and Debobasi scoring in the 29th minute to make it 1-1, and then it just kind of fell apart there. But NYCFC jumping all the way up to third. Nashville's in fourth. Philly's down to fifth. Crew are in sixth. Montreal in seventh. And then you have a 2-point gap between Montreal and DC. Then you have a 2-point gap between New York and DC. And then you have 10th place Atlanta, where you were just talking about. 14 points in 10th place. This is, again, I think the line we have to draw is 9th and up for what's going to be actually in the playoff hunt, because that's a 4-point gap between Red Bulls and Atlanta. And the way Atlanta's playing, I don't think they can make up 4 points.
And Red Bull have 2 games in hand. Everybody else, DC has 1. Montreal has 1. Atlanta's played 2 more games than Red Bull and 1 more game than Montreal and DC. If DC and Montreal win, I mean, that's like it could be 11-point gap once it shakes out, which is crazy. Or no, 9 points, because DC would be. But I mean, just think of that, 9 points. That's 3 games, and Atlanta can't win. So that's almost insurmountable at that point.
Yeah, I mean, we just talked about Atlanta hasn't won a game in 11 matches. Where are they going to get the 4 points right now to get even close to the Red Bulls at 9th? And then they have to get 9 points.
Yeah. That's a lot of draws.
They have to get 9 points to get the 7th.
And hope they all lose.
Or 8 points to get the 7th. And that's, and hope that they all lose. That's going to be really tough for Atlanta. I do think Atlanta fans have come around to the point that the season's probably a lost cause at this point.
They're the second worst attacking team in the Eastern Conference, just above Miami.
Yeah, they have 16 goals.
No.
Miami has 10. Cincy and Chicago have 17. Cincinnati, a team that we talk about that never scores, 17 goals again. Yeah. And let's say the Union only have 20. Crew only have 17. Crew are not been scoring much, but they've been getting enough points to get 10 points above Atlanta, with 1 more goal than them. That's kind of...
So look below Atlanta, Jordan. I didn't even look at that. Toronto, only 15 games played. Cincinnati, only 14 games played.
Yep.
Chicago, only 15 games played. Those
Miami, teams, only 13.
They could all pass them. Atlanta could be wooden spoon if all those teams win their games in hand.
3 games times 6 is what, another 18 points. Yeah, if Miami wins all theirs, they're up there. They don't even have to win all theirs. They're only 5 points back of Atlanta, and they have 3 games in hand.
Yeah, if every single one of those teams,
it's 2 draws and a win, or whatever,
take points from their matches, they would pass Atlanta. That's how bad Atlanta has been.
Yeah, not good for Atlanta.
No,
not good. Over on the West, LA Galaxy are firmly in 3rd here. They're only 4 points behind Seattle, and only 2 points behind KC, even though they've kind of had this lull recently. They're doing it without Chicharito right now, who is injured with a calf strain. We have the Rapids in 4th, LAFC in 5th, Minnesota in 6th, Salt Lake in 7th, Portland 1 point below the playoff spot, but they just can't get it going. They just haven't been able to get any momentum going. It's like they win a game and then they lose a game and then they lose and then they win and then they draw and then they lose. It's like just kind of back and forth here. They are good at home. They have 5 wins, the 2 losses at home. But away from home, Portland is 1-6-1. There's only 1 draw on the road and only 1 win on the road. Not good for Portland there. Houston is in 9th, Dallas in 10th, San Jose in 11th, Whitecaps in 12th, and Austin in 13th. San Jose, Vancouver, Austin, and Dallas all have the same points per game at .93. So if Austin wins their next game, because they have a game in hand to those teams, then they would go above those teams and actually go up to 10th place. So the West bottom feeders are really close to each other. Same way that the East is kind of getting close at the bottom there too. It's just all bunched up. You just have the class of the MLS, which I'd say is Seattle, KC, Galaxy, Revs, Orlando. There's your class of MLS right now, right? Those are the top of the top. And then you kind of have the middle teams where we're looking at like Nashville, NYCFC, Union, Colorado, LAFC, Crew, Montreal.
If I'm looking at the Eastern Conference and Western Conference, if they had to play each other in like a playoff, the Eastern Conference would just steamroll the Western Conference this year, I think.
I don't know.
I mean, the Galaxy have given up 27 goals. There's no way they should get there.
Well, it depends. It depends on what you're. Yeah, I guess It all depends.
I mean, they're
right?
definitely a false front. Like the Galaxy, I watched them play last night, and they beat a very bad Portland team. Portland is very bad this year, and God, they look like they'd concede 100 goals if they'd let them. Just like the Sounders were good. So if you look at I wish I could pull up like where the West have played the East and see how well the East has fared this year.
And that's the thing. That's why it's really tough to tell, is because we
don't play.
We're all playing each other. We're all playing our own conference. That it's tough to tell is that good East teams just beating up on really bad, weak East teams, and are the West teams battling it out? You know, like it's hard to tell.
I don't know. I just look at the goals conceded with the Galaxy, and that's an issue they had last year, which I think they were second behind San Jose. Right now, they're like the fourth worst defense in the whole league, which is not good. And their defense is not going to be. And Bond has had the most saves in the MLS, which is not good. Like nothing about that screams that the Galaxy should be a third place team. Like nothing. And with Chicharito out, I know that they're looking to add some attacking pieces, but again, I'm not convinced with the Galaxy, and I'll continue to beat that drum until they get in the playoffs and start making a run. And they probably win MLS Cup and supporter shield or something.
They probably will, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm bashing on them. But I just don't like. If I had to pick right now, LAFC is a better team than the Galaxy.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
LAFC can't even score.
Yeah, but they're up there. They're only 5 goals behind the Galaxy. That's not great, but I don't know. I'm just not sold on the LA Galaxy.
I will say I am sold on them.
Okay.
Get ready for MLS Cup winners 2021.
Yeah.
LA Galaxy.
Everybody put your bet on it. Yeah.
Put your bets on it. Well, you know, we've been calling managers getting fired. I'm going to call MLS Cup champ right now. And I'm not talking about the ones we've already claimed.
You mean Minnesota?
Minnesota and LAFC. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about my new prediction.
Montreal. hey,
there we go.
Nothing against Montreal. Like we did not have like a vendetta against Montreal. We just thought they were really bad.
No. And you know what though? If they were still called the Impact, I think I would have put them higher. Just gonna say that.
Yeah. It's the logos, really. The logo change. I mean, the logo change really turned Montreal around. So you can think they're really bad branding.
You know what? Next year, Cleveland Guardians winning MLB.
And whoever that
logo,
the Revs need to hurry up and change their logo.
they got to get that out now. Okay. Well, I think that wraps us up. You can follow us on Twitter at Stoppage. No, don't do that. That's our other show.
You can do that.
You can do that too. Yeah, at Stoppage Show. That's for Stoppage Time Soccer Show. We're going to be doing. Oh, you want to promote the fantasy league? Go ahead.
Yeah. So we are doing a Premier League fantasy league. It's so hard to say that. A Premier League fantasy league
draft too. It's a draft.
Yeah. And it's head to head. So we do a head to head. We don't do like the wages thing because I think it's more fun like this because it's much more like the American football way, which I much prefer. So we're doing that. You get to draft. It's a lot of fun because you learn the league. There's 20 teams and you go into like the very pits of the league to get players, which is a lot of fun. But yeah, no, it's fun. It'll be a good time. I think we'll have about 10 to 12 teams if Matt ever signs up. But yeah, no, we'll have that going, and the draft will be next Sunday, August 8th. So if anybody is interested in that, it's 7 p.m. Eastern time. So if you're in the Midwest, that'll work out pretty well for you. We try to do it a little later. Anybody overseas, I feel bad for if we had anybody try to do it from overseas because it'd be like, I don't know, like what is it, 1 a.m. or something like that. So yeah, we're doing that, and then I also wanted to pitch we're going to be doing the World Cup qualifying. We're going to do a couple of big episodes coming up on that, and that starts September. So that'll be fun. Yeah, so that'll be fun because they'll go on international break and stuff. So we'll cover. I'm going to hopefully get a preview of all the teams that we're going to be playing, so that we can kind of figure out where we stand, and then we'll do some predictions maybe and talk about maybe some of the lineups we'd like to see and some of the players we'd like to see. But yeah, exciting time coming up in August. August will be a very busy month, I feel, for all of our podcasts. So looking
not as
forward
busy
to that.
as March next year.
That's true. We will be slammed in March next year. March and April will be brutal.
March and April next year is going to be brutal. You'll find out why later. But yeah, we'll it'll be a little rough. But you can go ahead and follow us at Stateside Show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.com/Stateside Show, or email us statesideshow@gmail.com. Like you just talked about, Stoppage Time is on Twitter at Stoppage Show, Facebook.com/Stoppage Time Soccer Show, Instagram at Stoppage Time Soccer Show, or email us stoppagetimeshow@gmail.com. And yeah, that about does it for us today. We will catch you all Tuesday when we talk about the USA hoisting the Gold Cup final, according to Logan, hosting that trophy on Sunday night against Mexico. And we'll know, right? No, we will. Yeah, we'll know by then if the U.S. women's have moved on to the final, and we'll preview if so. And if not, we'll preview the Gold Cup, the bronze match, I guess. But that's it. Have a great rest of your weekend and enjoy all the soccer.